Aftermath of President Biden's disastrous debate performance last week, Democrats have both privately and publicly stated that he should step down from the ticket. The Biden campaign has been adamant that he will not drop out, but if he did, there is a long list of younger Democrats who may be considered as his replacement. NPR White House correspondent Deepa Shivaram has more.
2 days after the first debate between President Biden and former President Donald Trump, Maryland Governor Wes Moore was at a cookout in Milwaukee, Wisconsin. It was one of 8 events he did over the weekend for the Biden campaign, primarily reaching out to Black voters. It was supposed to be a chance to drum up enthusiasm, but instead he had to defend the president after his lackluster debate. Here's Moore in one of the several media interviews he did over the weekend, this one with CBS.
He got back up and he got back to work. And that's the thing I think people need to remember. All of us get knocked down.
Before the debate, Moore was one of the long list of governors floated as contenders for the 2028 election, along with Michigan's Gretchen Whitmer and Gavin Newsom from California. But then came that high-stakes debate, where Biden struggled to find his words and make his case. That led to more voters expressing concern over his ability to do another 4 years in the job. And some lawmakers have gone public. Congressman Lloyd Doggett told Morning Edition he thinks Biden should step down.
I think that he is far behind and that we have to put our best possibility forward instead of putting forward the same person that some called the double haters have rejected. We need to add some enthusiasm and excitement in our campaign.
Now, some of these 2028ers are also now being talked about as a replacement for Biden on the 2024 ticket, and so is Vice President Harris. Recent polling from CNN shows she fares better than Biden in a matchup against Trump, but she and other Democrats have all responded similarly.
Should President Biden step down, in your opinion?
No. President Biden should not step down. President Biden should continue as he's continued. He had a difficult debate. I mean, anybody that's followed President Biden over his political career, even when he was young, when he was a senator from Delaware, he was not a guy who was fast on his feet. He just wasn't. He's never been that guy. Now he's 80 years old. Of course he's not that guy. We all know some of our grandparents and what they're like at 80. He's not as sharp as he used to be. He had a bad performance. But in comparison to the guy who was standing next to him, who lied in everything that he stated, we know what this particular president is going to do. We've seen his presidency. So if we're comparing presidencies and we're looking at the last 4 years of Biden and the previous 4 years of former President Trump, you got to look at that and say, who's the better candidate? So the question is, should he not run? My point is, who are we going to run? In July, we're going to run Vice President Harris in July. We're going to run what? Gavin Newsom? Who's going to be the replacement in July, a month before the Democratic convention? And do we think that we're going to be able to spin up the type of support that that person needs in order to beat Donald Trump? Exactly. And my answer to that is no. I understand what people are saying. A lot of the noise that you hear out there is from TV stations who need eyes, that need clicks, people who want to see a horse race because that's when people watch their shows. No one's going to watch this show or listen to them talk about politics if Biden is going to win. So they need a horse race. So let's put out there that Joe Biden is too old. He shouldn't run. He's losing his mind. And then bring somebody else in, and all of a sudden we have a horse race. So my short answer is no.
And you also answered the second question too while you're doing it. I said, if he decides to stay, what does it look like? And so you went right into that which is good. My thing is, I think we don't have a choice but for him to stay, to get behind him.
Yep.
And I think that we should change our message ever so slight to say we're behind Joe 100%, and we want Joe to win. But we also want you to know that our ticket is a winning ticket. Kamala Harris is right there, and she'll be by his side every step of the way. I think we need to refine our message and say not just Joe is ready, but the ticket is ready.
Yeah.
And that's what it is. I mean, that way you can have your cake and eat it too.
Sure.
That's basically what you're doing then, is saying, okay, yeah, Joe is at the top of the ticket, but she's right there. And if something happened to Joe, guess what? She's gonna step in. And that's what we do. We need to refine our message a little bit and get to something like that, so that we are not having all this backbiting. But whatever they do, and if he do stay in, they better make it happen this week, because I don't think they can go another week with all this death by 1,000 cuts and stuff, because you got some people cutting. I think Hakeem Jeffries have heard enough. I think he need to call them all in once again and say, hey, you said what you got to say. He's still in. I'm not going to call a vote or nothing to try to kick him out. So let's get behind him, period. You know?
And that's part of, and I mean, you've heard me and seen my texts and stuff in our little group. I have always said this, is that Democrats are so weak. I mean, we get a little bit of pressure and people start falling apart. And I'm like, what is the deal, guys? I mean, what is it that you want to see that makes you want to push this guy away? I mean, he had a bad debate, but nobody. How about looking at what he's doing with our allies in Europe and how he's keeping them together, and how we're fighting on multiple fronts in different countries. United States, our troops are out here defending our what we believe in. How about the fact that the Democrats, he's held the Senate Democrats together on important legislation that he wants to get passed. I mean, it's ridiculous. The same people that are out there saying that he should quit will be the same folks that when he loses will be on TV saying, "I told you so. He should have quit 6 months ago, or he should have turned it over to Kamala Harris 2 years ago." It's just ridiculous, man. I'm like, grow a backbone, man, so that we can defend democracy.
Well, that's my whole thing right there, and that's why I'm saying what I'm saying. Is if they really wanted to get rid of him, I shouldn't say it like that. If they really wanted a change of guard, they should have did that 2 years ago. They should have had a plan in place.
Yep.
That said, okay, at the end of year 2, we're gonna start the process of getting our strong bench in front of the face of the people.
Yep.
Get them in front of the face of the people. And if you don't want to, if you at that time you didn't want to crown Kamala Harris the heir apparent 2 years out, you can get all of them out there and they can start campaigning and pretty much trying to see who's going to take that spot. So It's too late to do it now. You should have did it 2 years ago,
Yeah.
And now they trying to blame Biden's people for making them look silly and not knowing that he was in that kind of shape,
Look, so the reality is it's over. Democrats, step up. Let's get President Biden back into office. Whoever you want in office, get Biden and Harris back in office. And if he decides within his term that, hey, it's not good for me to continue, then we have President Kamala Harris and whoever she chooses to be her vice president for the next term. But it's July. We are voting in the next 2 to 3 months.
Yep.
And it's just silly.
Yeah.
I see you have your actually like who are the top 3 candidates to replace him.
There you go. Went right into it. So
I'll tell you who mine are. Mine are, one is vice president, and I think Kamala Harris has earned the right to be the number 1 candidate. And I've said that I have 2 other choices I think that I'd like to see. One is I'd like to see the governor of Kentucky, Beshear. I think he's a very good guy. He's from the South. He has progressive ideas, democratic ideas. And then my third is Gavin Newsom out of California. I love Gavin Newsom. I think he's a smart, intellectual guy. He's not afraid to mix it up with Republicans and their nonsense. Those are my 3 candidates.
Yeah. I can agree with that. I mean, I could go 5, but I'd take Kamala Harris, Gavin Newsom, and the Shapiro, I believe his name, out
Oh,
of
out of Pennsylvania.
Pennsylvania.
You're talking about the
Yeah,
new governor of Pennsylvania,
yeah,
Shapiro.
yeah,
Mhm. Yeah,
yeah.
Shapiro's good.
I think he's good. He's in a battleground state. He
Yep.
won in a battleground state pretty handily too. So, um, and all three of those people are well spoken. All three of them know the issues at hand, and I think uh, if the Democrats, like I said, really wanted change, they should have did it 2 years ago. Too
Yep.
late now. Let's get on board and let's get it going.
Yeah.
That's my opinion about it. Let's
And right, like I always say, man, hold the line, stay steady. That's what we need. We can work through, we can walk and chew gum. President Obama used to say this all the time.
Yeah.
We can walk and chew gum at the same time. We don't have to do one thing and then do something else and then do something else. We can walk and chew gum at the same time. So stay focused.